Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Because in a few days we shall be observing in this country the birthday anniversary of Abraham Lincoln, and because this is the centennial of the issuing of the Emancipation Proclamation, I shall be reading for as much time as I have from Stephen Benet's John Brown's Body. I've never found a church that I could join, this is Abraham Lincoln speaking, although I've prayed in churches in my time and listened to all sorts of ministers. Well, they were good men, most of them, and yet the thing behind the words is hard to find. I used to think it wasn't there at all, couldn't be there. I cannot say that now. And now I pray to you and you alone. Teach me to know your will. Teach me to read your difficult purpose here, which must be plain if I had eyes to see. There was a man I knew near Pigeon Creek who kept a kennel full of hunting dogs, young dogs and old, smart hounds and silly hounds. He'd sell the young ones every now and then, smart as they were and slick as they could run. But the one dog he'd never sell or lend was an old, half-dead, foolish-looking hound you wouldn't think had sense to scratch a flea unless the flea were old and sickly too. Most days he used to lie beside the stove or sleeping in a piece of sun outside. Folks used to plague the man about that dog, and he'd agree to everything they said. No, he ain't much on looks or much on speed. A young dog can outrun him any time, outlook him and out-eat him and out-leap him. But mister, that dog's hell on a cold scent. And once he gets his teeth in what he's after, he don't let go until he knows he's dead. I am that old, deaf, hunting dog, O Lord, and the world's kennel holds 10,000 hounds, smarter and faster and with finer coats, to hunt your hidden purpose up the wind and bell upon the trace you leave behind. But even when they fail and lose the scent, I will keep on, because I must keep on until you utterly reveal yourself and sink my teeth in justice, soon or late. There is no more to ask of earth or fire, and water only runs between my hands. But in the air I'll look, in the blue air, the old dog, muzzle down to the cold scent, day after day until the tired years crackle beneath his feet like broken sticks, and the last barren bush consumes with peace. I should have tried the course with younger legs. This hunting ground is stiff enough to pull the metal heart out of a dog of steel. I should have started back at Pigeon Creek from scratch. not 40 years behind the mark. But you can't change yourself. And if you could, you might fetch the wrong jackknife in the swap. It's up to you to whittle what you can with what you've got. And what I am, for what it's worth, hippo and legs and all. I can't complain. I'm ready to admit you could have made a better-looking dog from the same raw material, no doubt. But since you didn't, this will have to do. Therefore, I utterly lift up my hands to you, and here and now beseech your aid. I have held back when others tugged me on. I have gone on when others pulled me back, striving to read your will, striving to find the justice and expedience of this case, hunting an arrow down the chilly airs until my eyes are blind with the great wind and my heart sick with running after peace. And now I stand and tremble on the last edge of the last blue cliff, a hound beat out, tail down and belly flattened to the ground. My lungs are breathless, and my legs are whipped. Everything in me is whipped except my will. I can't go on, and yet I must go on. I will say this. 2 months ago, I read my proclamation setting these men free to Seward and the rest. I told them then I was not calling on them for advice, but to hear something that I meant to do. We talked about it. Most of them approved the thing, if not the time. Then Seward said something I hadn't thought of. I approve the proclamation, but if issued now with our defeats in everybody's mouth, it may be viewed as a last shriek for help from an exhausted, beaten government. Put it aside until a victory comes, then issue it with victory. He was right. I'm not a general, but I promise this. Here, at the end of every ounce of strength that I can muster, here in the dark pit of ignorance that is not quite despair, and doubt that does but must not break the mind, the pit I have inhabited so long at various times and seasons that my soul has taken color in its very grains from the blind darkness, from the lonely cave that never hears a footstep but my own, nor ever will while I'm a man alive, to keep my prison locked from visitors. What if I heard another footstep there? What if someday there is no one but God, who could descend that stair and ring his heavy footfalls on the stone? And if he came, what would we say to him? God is not a jailer. And I make a promise now to you and to myself. If this last battle is a victory and they can drive the rebel army back from Maryland, back over the Potomac, my proclamation shall go out at last to set those other prisoners and slaves from this next year, then and forever free. So much for my will. Show me what is yours. That must be news. Those footsteps in the hall, good news, or else they wouldn't come so fast. What is it, Hay? Yes, I'm glad of that. I'm very glad. There's no mistake this time. We have the best of them. They're in retreat. This is a great day, Stanton. If McClellan can only come up with a victory now, Lord, I will keep my promise and go on, your will and much still being dark to me, but in this one thing as I see it, plain. And yet, if Lee slips from our hands again, as he well may, from all these last reports, and the war still goes on and still no end, not for years, I cannot read it, but I will go on. Old dog, but settled to the scent, and with fresh breath now from this breathing space, Almighty God. At best, we never seem to know you wholly, but there's something left, a strange last courage. We can fail and fail and fail, but deep against the failure, something wars, something goes forward, something lights a match, something gets up from Sangamon County ground, armed with a blunted and bitten axe, and after 20,000 wasted strokes, brings the tall hemlock crashing to the ground. I can't go on, and yet I must go on.